So let's just move on to the next one. I think you like this one, and the last one is think. And obviously, think it's more being that student, always looking to get better mentally, reading books, listening to books, listening to podcasts, positive podcasts. My wife always just jokes with me that I listen to too many crime podcasts, but I'm mixing in those educational ones. But their biggest thing from this podcast, the Chasing Excellence, is to be curious, not judgmental. And his biggest analogies is you're driving on the freeway and somebody cuts you off. How do you react? Are you going to be judgmental? Are you going to be saying, hey, you mother effer, what are you doing? Welcome everybody to Real Estate Junkies Coast to Coast. I'm your West Coast representative, Russell Ham, on the East Coast. Steve, say hi.
Hello, Russell. The reason why Russell was laughing was because he just had this weird long sulk like I was annoying him and I called him out for it.
My apologies, brother. We usually kind of start with the weather because you're East Coast, I'm West Coast. It is freaking hot. It is October 3rd and it is 100 degrees. Luckily, I don't have to be in it. My wife is in it. I feel bad for her. But how is it out there in the East?
It's cold, man. The summer's gone. It's probably 50 degrees or lower right now. It's got that fall cold weather, which the only good thing, Russell, that comes with fall weather is Halloween's coming. And Halloween is it is my favorite holiday.
I know.
And I go all in every year. I haven't decided what I'm going to be yet, but this cold weather means that something crazy is about to happen in under 30 days.
There you go.
And I'm ready.
I wasn't really a fan of the day. I'm a fan of like dressing for parties, but the actual day, I'm not really a big fan.
You just like the party part. You just go there in regular clothes.
I like hanging out. We're going to talk about that in a second about connecting. Yeah, I liked connecting with other people and dressing up. One year I dressed up as, if you know the movie, The Three Amigos. One of the best costumes we ever did. It was cool. There was three of us. I forgot my name, what my name was, but yeah, it was 3 years ago. So it was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So everybody knows, if you've listened to, or we've had 19 episodes, we always start with mindset, skill set, systems. Today we're going to start with mindset. And Steve and I were off camera talking about certain books that we were reading. I was reading this book called The Comfort Crisis, meaning as every generation moves forward, our lives become more and more comfortable. It's almost like the Wall-E movie. I think people are afraid that we're going to end up being like the Wall-E, where we're just all in this ship and we're just watching TV the whole time. So it's a great book. Talk about Misogi, which is we try to get back to almost Native American days, where you're finding food and you're out walking in pastures and making your own tents out of the animals that you kill. So I'm not going to go out and kill an animal and create a rug, but it talks about, I did this 12-hour walk I think it was a couple of years ago. It's called the 12-hour walk. You should get the book if you're listening to this. It's a great book. Super, super challenging. 12 hours with no phone, no nothing. You walk for 12 hours and
journal. You have a journal in your hand?
Yeah, you journal with you. So every once in a while you'd stop. You just, whatever thoughts were in your head, you just write it down. Super. I was probably about 8th hour. I was just like, this sucks. I want to go home. You fight. So it was it's weird because you remember things in your life and then you forget things in your life. Some of the less important things you probably just don't remember, but I remember every step. I remember if I drive down that road that I was walking, I remember what I did. I sat there, I wrote about this certain thing. So I have these memories based on that 12-hour walk, which is pretty cool.
Stop you for a second because I'm curious. And obviously, if certain things with you personal, don't talk about it. But like, obviously, in 12 hours by yourself, no distractions, stuck in your brain. How long into that walk did it take for your brain to start thinking of things you usually don't think of?
It was probably 2 hours. And 2 hours, because there's no phone. Like most people go on walks or they go on a jog. You just have a podcast on or they have music, but I had nothing. And so you're just walking with your own thoughts. And it was probably 2 hours in where it was like, okay. And I started thinking about my brother and our relationship, which has deteriorated after COVID because he thought one way and I thought the other way, and we just separated. So I started thinking about stuff like that. And I started thinking about this podcast. I wrote down a lot of things about this podcast and what I thought it would look like. It's actually morphed into something else, but it was pretty cool. But I just sat down, just wrote down my thoughts, my relationship with wife, my relationship with my kids. How could I make it better? Stuff like that, which is pretty cool.
Sounds super therapeutic.
It was hard. The last mile was very painful.
12 miles, dude. I've never walked 12 miles before, I don't think.
Yeah. So I got the book I got recommended is from a podcast called Chasing Excellence. So if you want to check that out too, it's really cool. It's predominantly revolves around like CrossFit and how to get better at CrossFit, but it also talks about just life in general. They have 5 core values he lives by. And one is you move every day, at least 5 or 6 times a week. You're moving 5, whatever that is. Go to the gym, go on a walk, a 30-minute walk, 40-minute walk, but you're moving every single day, right? Number 2 is you eat. Yeah, everyone eats, but what do you? And he says, the way you eat it's got to come from a mother and it's got to come from the ground. Majority, right? He doesn't want processed foods. Processed foods is probably the worst thing you can have. So get back to the old school, like I was talking about, when you're a Native American, you're eating what's has a mother and what's coming from the ground. Recovery is number 3, and that's mainly your sleep. Probably should be getting 8 hours of sleep. So you're tracking that. I don't know if you still have the ring, but that helps me because it tells me that I'm sleeping well, and sometimes it tells me I'm not.
Sleeping, Russell, I think is probably the most underrated thing that people take it for granted. Anytime I am in a rut with my overall energy, my positivity, my patience, if I'm plateauing at work, whatever it is, it's always, if I always like then start looking at everything around and what things could potentially be, provoking this, I'm not sleeping as well. I'm not sleeping as many hours. I'm going to bed too late. I'm waking, it affects everything. If you could do 2 things that would change your life, it would be eat healthier and get more sleep.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. Keep going.
100%. So number 4 is connect, and that's to connect with other, right? People ask me because I retired from teaching and I'm working from home, and they're like, how is being in retirement? And I'm like, it's awesome because I have my own schedule. I can do whatever I want. I have certain responsibilities, but most of the day I'm free to do what I want. I work on my business certain times of the day. I work with the Wicked Smart community, but most of the time I have my own schedule. So that's awesome, but I'm all by myself, right? When I was working as a teacher, you're hanging out with other people. And I think you're in the same situation too. When I was a teacher, I'm in an office with 3 or 4 other PE teachers. We're all males. We're always ragging each other. We're always making fun of each other. We're having good conversations. We're talking about the kids and how shitty they are. And it's just every day you have some connection with people. And that's why I like going to the gym every day, because the people there are super cool. It's a family atmosphere. I get to connect with them. So number 4 is connect. And maybe you can, because you're in the same kind of boat, right? You're home all day. So I don't know if you want to touch on that.
My life before real estate, I worked in a factory, and I don't know how many people I was around. It was a building that was like 2 million square feet. It was gigantic, or 1 million square feet, excuse me. Hundreds and hundreds of people working. I was a supervisor, so I'm buzzing around all the time and communicating with people and teaching and everything like that. There's so much value to doing that. Like, I have my life now where I sit on my couch and I talk to people, or I'm on Zoom, but the moving and grooving with people and being like, you know how it is, Russell, talking on the phone to someone and having the same energy and confidence in person is 2 different skill sets.
Right.
So there's a big piece to being able to just communicating with the people who you live with, or that are as simple as you're at the store and just being friendly. Those are all, like, you don't realize it, but those are all like opportunities for you to get out of your comfort level if that's something that makes you feel off. But there was so much I got out of when I worked in that plant, and having to communicate with so many different people, but understand that even though that you are their superior, there are people who just take that like supervisor role and they talk down at people. And then those people don't perform well, they hate you, and then they bond because they hate you. That's what they bond about. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And as to become a really good supervisor, in my opinion, your social skills and just the psychology of understanding people. And it's not easy for people to be really good at supervising other than just like, all right, my job is to push these people, but building trust, building relationships, knowing the skill sets of your guys and where to put them, how to train them at what times when you got tons of your business is super busy. Maybe that's not the best time to put this person in a certain place where he's training and could make giant mistakes, right? Like just knowing how to do all that stuff. But like socialization is the main piece to being a good communicator. And there's the next one as well, it goes with it, but I'll let you keep going. But Russell, like when we go to these events and we've been talking on Zoom and phone calls, and even though we see each other like we are right now, when we see each other in person, it is so different. How excited and like explosive are we in person?
Oh my God, 100%. We missed you this year. Kelsey and I hung out with a group, and it was just a fantastic time just hanging out. And obviously COVID had a lot to do with today's society, right? Where a lot of people stayed home and worked, and a lot of people didn't go back. Like me, I didn't go back to. And so we're losing that. And that's part of that Misogi, which is the connecting with other people socially every day, right? I don't connect when I was teaching. I had the fellow teachers that I was working with, but I was also connecting with 30 plus students every period. So I'm connecting with about 90 teenagers, but I'm connecting with them. I'm talking to them every day. And then all of a sudden it's just cut off. Now I'm on a Zoom call, and then twice a year I go out. And so that's why that's why hanging out with friends on the weekends and doing stuff like that is super important to me now. So let's just move on to the next one. I think you like this one, and the last one is think. And obviously think it's more being that student, always looking to get better mentally, reading books, listening to books, listening to podcasts, positive podcasts. My wife always just jokes with me that I listen to too many crime podcasts, but I'm mixing in those educational ones. But their biggest thing from this podcast, the Chasing Excellence, is to be curious, not judgmental. And one of his biggest analogies is you're driving on the freeway and somebody cuts you off. How do you react? Are you going to be judgmental? Are you going to be saying, "Hey, you mother effer, what are you doing? How come you did that to me?" Or are you going to look at the driver and say, "You know what? They're probably having a bad day. I'm curious what's going on." And maybe they just came back from a fight from home and they're just angry at whoever they're fighting with or whatever the situation is. So be curious. I'm curious why that person came out, rather than, "You a-hole, I can't believe you did that." And then you start brake checking them, or you start tailgating them. And I don't know if you want to touch on it, because before we got on, you're like, "Oh, so what did you like about that?"
One of the things I liked is when you said you a-hole and then you tailgate, because I'm close enough to Massachusetts where that's what we do. And we can be curious and still be in their driveway, Russell.
Sure.
All right. So what I was saying before we jumped on, and I've recently been constantly, I role play the first 2 hours of the day, 8 a.m. to 10. I've been working with another salesman and just role playing and working new scripts, playing around with all different scripts. And we've been getting a lot done. And as Russell, if you're not constantly, even if you're making tiny tweaks, you should Like there's seasons of this, right? You have this great script, and in 5 months from now, that script may have hit a brick wall for some reason because real estate's always changing. Obviously, people are people. So the cadence and psychology behind how you're wording questions is still going to be there, but it's ever evolving. If you're just using the same scripts from 3 years ago, there's a good chance there's other businesses tandem to you that are smoking you, just blowing the doors off you. So when I heard you say, be curious, not judgmental, a big part of what I do is outside of the fact that I'm providing real estate leads for people who are looking to scale faster, the big part of sales is retaining people, right? How long are we going to keep them how long can we keep them on the platform buying leads? The only way you can get people on the platform buying leads is if you can set them up and be successful and they're doing deals.
Right.
If they're not doing deals, there's a shelf life for everybody. They're not going to just keep spending money and not have results. So that's a huge piece of making sure your quality of whatever it is you're doing is good so people stick with you. Now, the most difficult part of what I do is retention calls. A retention call is when someone says, I want to cancel my account, Russell, you suck. And it happens multiple times a day because you have thousands and thousands of customers or whatever. So my job isn't to not only keep them buying leads, but it's to hear them, right? And be curious, not judgmental. When I'm doing our retention calls, I am not excited to get on the phone and do that because they already have a predetermined thing in their head that they're done. How fast can I get off this call, get my money back, and get out of here? I don't want to be here. Just give me my money. Right. That's the general consensus. Some people are more friendly. Some people won't even answer the phone. And where I've gotten stuck and I plateaued, which now I've been working on and I'm getting better at, because these are the most difficult calls and for what I have to do, is I'd come to the call with lower energy because I was bummed that I had to do this because it's not fun.
Sure.
So when you show up to the call and my energy isn't, hey, Russell, it's Steve. What's going on, man? How's your day going? Instead of, hey, Russell, what's up, man? That guy feels that I am just not super excited to talking to him, right? Little things, right? And because I am bummed about it and my energy's off, and I just told myself this story that there's no way this guy is going to continue buying or this girl is going to continue buying leads, that affects your ability to be curious. Why so far have you not had a good experience? Tell me about that, man. You know what? That sucks. That's super annoying. Maybe you're right. Let's look into it. Instead of being like defensive, right? When you get defensive, these calls will ramp up. So they already all want to be there.
Right.
You get defensive. And because like when you don't know the scripts that well, or you're not great at the scripts for certain type of phone calls, like when you start getting flustered, two things happen. You sound like, or you have this kind of squirrely conversation and they can tell you're nervous. So they don't really trust you. And then it just starts turning bad. It's like when you're talking
or you think the conversation is going and they still say no and you judge them like, oh my God, I can't believe they didn't continue with me because I was saying the right things and I was all that kind of stuff. And now you're judging them, right? You're judging them. But it could be just something personal in their life. They're just like, I just don't want to spend the money anymore.
Yeah. What it comes down to, Russell, and think about this with sellers, it's no different. When you uncover motivation, you usually get a surface level version of it, right? They don't trust you enough. They don't have time to tell you the depth of it. They don't really want to. I just want to you're going to buy my house or not? You're going to offboard me or not? And it's on us as the person who's buying the house, selling them something, providing some kind of service, whatever it is that you're doing, to make them know that one, I'm focused on you. What is it that you need? What's been your experience? Why has it been this way? Let's look at a couple of things that you've had so far. Maybe we did make a mistake. And if we did, I'll make it right. Make them feel like this isn't the lamps on them right now. They're in the jail and we're going to just question them. It's not that's a bad feeling. And it's very easy to actually have that feeling on these kind of calls. What I've noticed is when you go into these calls, especially when you talk to a seller, Russell, let's say you talk to a seller who's just not friendly. You're cold calling in New England. That's probably the most realistic example I can make. And the situation is this person's not in a great mood. right? They're short with you, and it throws you off a little bit. Now, what you need to do is first not judge them. Like you said, with somebody cutting you off in traffic, something really terrible could have happened to them.
Yeah.
In the last week, there's been a big storm on the East Coast where a lot of people in Florida and lower area have got crushed with weather, with family members needing help like really bad. And you got to think, like, in any time of the year, whether what's going on with the weather, people's lives or not, like, ask enough questions so that you don't make any kind of assumptions that, like, we're human. We're all human. We're all going through things. And maybe a friendly conversation with somebody who shows that they actually care about what's going on before we even get into what we're talking about, that's going to give them the feeling that they feel comfortable exposing more to you. Like, how many times, Russell, and I'll let you talk in a second, I'm just going here, but like, how many times have you talked to a seller on the phone and you've just got to the point where they're telling you things that you know that they've never told a family member about their financial situation, right? Like, it's embarrassing stuff. I'm going to lose my house. I'm behind 4 payments. Like, no one in their family probably even knows until they lose their house. They're telling you they've been talking to you for 30 minutes, 30 or 3 minutes, 10 minutes about this stuff. And if they are, it's either they need help or they trust you or both. Big part of it. You got to be human.
Yeah. Great points. Yeah. Can you imagine if you're somebody trying to buy a house, if you're an investor in Florida right now, and you cold call a house. Hey, I'm looking to buy houses in your area. I was curious if you're still looking to sell. I don't have one. It's gone.
Yeah.
So you gotta be curious. Hey, so I just not, if they're pissed off at you, it's not because of you. It's because they just lost their house. So you gotta be, and so what we do in the community, you've heard many of our community members, oh, they're ghosting me, right? You've heard that multiple times, right? They're ghosting me. I always tell them, don't judge them. You don't know what's going on the other end, right? Just because they didn't respond to your email in 48 hours, it doesn't mean that it was you or what you wrote in the email. Like you said, there could be some things going in their house financially. Maybe he's got to talk to the wife now, and the wife, I don't want to sell it. So a lot of things could be going behind the scenes that you don't know. So you just be curious. You call them like, hey, I'm curious. It's got my email, and you just keep pressing them, keep touching them. Right? We've talked about how many touches it takes to get something on the contract. It's in the neighborhood of 7, 8, 9 times. So I always tell the associates, like, you don't know what's going on the other end. So don't judge, right? Just be curious, right?
Also, if you can really connect with what it's like to sell a house, take yourself out of buying the house, take yourself out of your scripts, what you're learning, you want a home. Like, think of if you've sold a house before, can you think back of what that experience was for you? Was it stressful? Was there a lot going on? Was there like multiple offers, having to understand the difference between offers that look similar, but you don't even necessarily know what these other differences mean? There are so many factors that slow things down. You work on other people's timeline, not yours. It's always going to be like that. And I think that's a big piece of being able to have the confidence to move forward with other deals while other ones are just in limbo, or trust your follow-up systems to continue to nurse them, is once you get that idea of understanding, listen, there's leads that close very quickly after you call them, but that's not the norm. There's ones that are more likely going to happen. It could be 30 days. It could be 60. You and me have both done deals that we've talked to people over a year after the first time we talked to them. Once you get the confidence of understanding the funnel of how your business has to be successful, I got to call these people. I got to do my follow-ups here. I have my drip campaigns over my CRM that are already doing this. Those things are working. I have a VA that's doing this. They're handling they're managing my CRM. So like the organization of where you need to focus, where you should be working on the things that are going to produce revenue first. And then go back. What's the highest chance that I could be producing a deal? That's like my everyday with the marketing stuff that I'm doing now. Yeah. Everything I'm doing is priority closest to money. Who's the warmest? Yeah, move backwards.
Yeah, that's why we always say start with your follow-ups first and then do your cold calling. And the thing, and also with cold calling, and when cold calling, again, we're calling expireds, cancellations, withdrawn typically, right? They may have had a bad experience with a realtor. They're pissed off. All of a sudden, their house comes off the market, and then they're just getting bombarded by realtors wanting to list their home, or they're getting bombarded by other investors like ourselves, right? That's why I tell the associates, don't call on the day of. Try to call give it every 2-hour window, so that they're not as pissed off. They're going to be angry because people are like constantly calling them, and so you can't judge them for that. You got to put yourself in their shoes. If you got 20, 30 calls a day from people you don't know, it's irritating, right?
Sure.
And you're obviously you're going to voicemail, but your phone is constantly ringing, right? Yeah, just put yourself into their shoes.
Russell, before you wrap that up though, and I think this is just one tiny important little piece here, and I'm seeing this more and more. So what separates you from the other people who are calling them is the important piece. Because you can't stop 8 people from calling the same seller, right? What you can do is you can be drastically different than those other 8 and be memorable somehow. That could be with the copy you use in your emails, the copy you use in your text messages. We talked about this in past episodes, right? About being outlandish and silly. What are you going to do, Russell? If you get 5 text messages that say just 5 different names, hi, it's blank from blank, wanted to buy your house, you available for a call, and you get 5 of those in a row. And then you get another one that asks you if you've been abducted by aliens, and it blink twice, and if you need help. And by the way, you filled out a form, and I wanted to go ahead and make you an offer and see if it's a fit. Which one seems like the other ones seem like a chore, and I don't know who they are. They're stiff. That's boring. And then there's this other person that seems like that entertainment that you need today while you've been just so annoyed. So strive to break the mold, right? You got to separate yourself from being super professional. Doesn't necessarily attract people. What attracts people is authenticity. You know what I mean? Really, like if you would message, the way that I would message Russell, it's going to be in a way where I know him, right? And I'm going to watch certain things that I say to other people, but I try to be silly and funny with strangers in a way that they can just see, oh, this guy's fun. Like this call was just like, I had a 30-minute call with this guy set up, and hopefully it goes quick. Once you get there, the first 90 seconds you're talking to somebody, if you could tell they're fun, they're energetic, they're really excited to just be here, you're like, oh, I'm going to buy it. Even if it's not even like you buy it now, Russell. It's like, you're so memorable that if they're going to do something in the space that you're talking to them about, they're like, that guy was cool. That girl was cool. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. So we spent a lot of time on the think part, the be curious, not judgmental. But what do the other ones have to do with what we're doing, right? The move, the eat, the recover, the connection. They're all important, not only in your own life, but also in your business, right? If you are working out every day, you're going to get on that phone, you're going to be energetic, right? If you're healthy, if you're eating healthy, you're going to have more energy on the phone, right? You're not going to be lethargic. Speaking of lethargic, if you're sleeping well, if you're getting 8 hours, 8 hours, you're going to be rejuvenated the next day. So you're working out, you're eating, you're sleeping well. That's going to grow your business. It's going to grow your business. And then if you're connecting with other people, obviously, and socializing, that's going to help. But those first 3, move, eat, and recover, super important, not only for your health, but for your business as well. Because if you're lethargic, you're getting 4 hours of sleep, you're waking up, but you just don't feel it. Oh, I'll make calls tomorrow, right? You put it off. So you procrastinate. When you're not healthy, you procrastinate a lot more than you would normally you do if your brain was active, right? If you were just like ready to go. So I just want to end on that, which is, these 5 factors, these core values is important, not only in your health, but it's also important in your business. Yeah. Right? Those are put together for a reason, Russell. If you take any one of those out, the balance is thrown. If you're not sleeping well, guess what? No matter how much exercise and food you're eating, which is going to help, you're still going to feel like you have no energy to do what you want to do. That makes you more lazy, it makes you impatient, which affects your mood. If you're not eating healthy, that affects your mood. Like all of these, if you're just a hermit in your house, you're not connecting with people, like you just That's another place to birth of depression, right? Like all these things are so important to put together at once. It's a lot, but you can train yourself to do anything if you're just going to be disciplined enough and commit. I can tell you that the grass is greener on the other side when you start really putting these things together. When I don't take care of myself, Russell, everything goes to shit. It just, I don't feel great. I'm not fun.
Yeah.
I'm annoyed. I got to really focus on it. It's not easy. It's not supposed to be easy, but it's important to do things that suck. It's super important. David Goggins, he says it all the time. Every day you should do something that sucks.
You have to. It's part of the Misogi. It's part of the Misogi. That all in that. And you can do many Misogis. There's the Misogi is usually, it's like sometimes it's half a year, sometimes it's 3 months where you're just in Alaska doing hunting for elk. That's in a Misogi, right? You're there for months and you're just in the elements. You can do many ones, right? You can do like a 6 hour tour like one I did, or you can do like a 48 hour, you go up in the mountains, you pump a tent and you just spend some time by yourself for 48 hours in the mountain in a tent. So there's little mini ones you can do throughout the year, but so think about that. And again, it's under Chasing Excellence. That's the podcast. And then the book I'm reading, it's talking about this Misogi, is called The Comfort Crisis. So if you guys want to go do that, I can put that in the show notes as well. Steve, it was great seeing you. I missed you. QOS, me and Kelsey had a ton of fun. Again, had a lot of fun with you.
I told Kelsey what we're going to do is we're going to do periodic Zoom calls where we all have some alcohol and we can just pretend we're at the bar together virtually.
I like that.
I think we should do it.
And we should have a fake bartender that you can talk to.
That's right, because that's what I do. I usually am the therapist, or they're my therapist usually. That's right. All right, Russell.
All right, buddy. Love you. Take care, buddy.
Love you, dude.